So hi, everybody. My name is Angie. I'm here with Clara on behalf of New Ventures BC, and we have Lenny and Marcelo from Mitacts, and Marcelo is also from Innovate BC as well. He gets to do double duty. So we're here to tell you about the Mitacts program primarily, which is a good non-dilutive option that it's a good resource for startups to know about. So we're very happy to have Mitacts here to help share the information about this program. First, as we get started, wanted to acknowledge that the New Ventures BC offices and my own personal home are situated on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Coast Salish peoples, including the territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and the Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. And we're very privileged to be on these lands. I would also like to just give a quick hello and thank you to our sponsors who really helped make this competition happen. Of course, our title sponsor, lead partner, is Innovate BC. Our gold sponsors EY, Fasken, and National Bank of Canada. Silver sponsors include Vantech, TalkShop, Razor CFO, which is a new sponsor, they just joined, SFU Beauty School of Business, RVCX, and UBC Sauder School of Business. And then we have a great selection of ecosystem partners who are bronze sponsors, including Toast, which also just joined recently, and some great media partners as well. I also wanted to just flag a few upcoming events. So next Tuesday, July 2nd, we are celebrating the top 26 companies that have advanced in this year's 2024 New Ventures BC competition. So if you were in the competition and but you didn't advance, or this year, I should say, or you're just curious, you're part of the community, you want to check it out, all are welcome. So please do join us if you're free. The registration info is on our website. Also coming up in July, we have a talk around financial considerations for startups. So this is actually the financials when someone wants to see your numbers. These are some kind of the questions startups often get asked. So we have Peter Dorsman, Irene Dorsman from the Angel Forum, who look at a lot of financials. So they'll give you a really good kind of practical guidance around this topic. And the fun part, we always play golf every July. So if you want to join us, please do. All right, and that's it for upcoming things. So now I'm going to turn things over to Marcelo and Lenny here to tell you about the Mitacts program. So I'm going to stop sharing. So I believe Marcelo will give the formal presentation, but Lenny is here to help with the Q&A and jump in wherever needed. So thank you both for being here. And Marcelo, I will let you take it from here.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Angie. And hi, everyone. Pleasure to meet and to see everyone on the call. My name is Marcelo. I'm a senior advisor with Mitacts. I also share a position with Innovate BC, as Angie explained. I have my colleague Lenny with me. Lenny, would you like to introduce yourself before we start?
Thank you, Marcelo. Yes, I'm Lenny Freilich, and I'm an industry-facing person at Mitacts. My role is to work with companies and help bring them into the Mitacts program.
So we work together to help companies developing their innovation and advancing, creating commercialization, jobs, revenue, and advancing Canadian innovation ecosystem. Today, I will talk about Mitacts and how we can help you advance your goals in order to move your projects forward. I will start with a brief summary in terms of how Mitacts work, what we are, who we are, how are our programs, how they work. And at the end, I will also show you how we can leverage Mitacts better with some examples and how it can be integrated in the pathway, in your innovation pathway all along. Let me see if I can turn my slide. Basically, so with Mitacts, we're a national non-for-profit, so we are all everywhere in Canada. We have provincial and federal funding to help companies advance their innovation. Our goal is to bring innovation into reach, bridging the gap between different stakeholders in the ecosystem, helping companies advance research and development by creating partnerships, strategic partnerships with academia, and leveraging talent, research and development resources, expertise, infrastructure, and all of the great tools that you need in order to advance your project. Our biggest tool our biggest key to help you is our bandwidth and our network. We have a very big network. We are everywhere in Canada, and we work with more than 5,000 companies. We work with all universities and institutions in Canada and with most colleges. We can help you bridging this gap, accessing the entire Canada innovation ecosystem, so you can build the strategic partnerships to develop your projects. How do we do this? We have a model that is an internship based, but this internship model, it's not a traditional internship. It's a model in which we can help you establish strategic relationships with universities in order to leverage talent, leveraging experts' expertise, infrastructure, resources. Our projects usually have these three main components. So a company with a problem that needs to be solved, an innovation, a project that needs to be tackled. Of course, the talent, which are the interns, the students typically, and the professors, which are the know-how of how we can move this innovation forward. We focus on different aspects, from research and development to innovation to collaborations abroad. Most of our flagship programs are the Accelerate and Elevate program. These are programs that are collaborative funding structure with interns, in which companies can work with interns from universities, any level of expertise, from undergraduate to graduate student level to postdoctoral fellow, depending on the expertise and the level of talent needed. The way that we work is that interns can work in collaboration with the academic professor associated with a university or college in Canada and the organization, and they work together to build the innovation, to build the project, at the same time leveraging the resources from the industry, leveraging the resources from the academia, and pulling all this together to work on the project. Our funding programs can add up to 50 to 55% of the funding on the projects that you have, to no limit. So we have, this is not a competition. You can apply to Mitacts anytime. Projects can start as soon as 10 to 12 weeks after the submission of the proposals. And we have a very high success rate. So that means that you can trust consistently in Mitacts to deliver your project, to apply to our funding, and you can have you can integrate in this way Mitacts funding strategically into your innovation pipeline, into research and development agenda, because you know that you don't have to compete for the program, and you will have Mitacts funding consistently when you need it and where you need it. We work in all disciplines. The projects that we support are research projects, but by research, this can be a really broad spectrum, from the typical sciences, engineering, life sciences, clean tech, to sports, social sciences, customer discovery, indigenous matters, multidisciplinary projects. It's a broad spectrum. Our program is organized in what we call, the program is completely customizable. So our programs can be, you can apply to our programs for a project that can be small, 4 or 6 months, so like a short period of time, or you can have like a really big project, multi-million-dollar projects. My colleague Lenny here has worked with companies really big to have multidisciplinary projects with multiple universities, very strategically to deliver innovation at a Canada level. So this can be something that you can customize according to your size, your interests, and it can also be a way that you can connect with experts in different fields to complement the skills that you already have in your company. The way that the program is organized is in what we call internship units. So each unit is a block of 4 or 6 months to support one intern, so one student working on the project for this period of time. You can see this is a block like similar to Lego blocks to support like a short project of for 6 months with a budget of 15,000 or 10,000, which your company provides 50%. And you can scale this up significantly to a multiple project that has multiple units. And so it can be a multi-year project or a project with multiple interns. Always the components are the same. So you need like a academic partner, a professor, and then the students who are at the talent. So in this way, you can customize this to a larger project. The project can be your size depending on your budget. So the program is very flexible in this aspect. You can add multiple partners, so you can apply with a fellow company and you can work with interns. You can work with multiple academic institutions. It's actually very flexible. How does the funding work? So how do you apply? So you come to us. So typically a company, an organization can come to Mitacts with a specific problem, a specific project, a specific technology that you want to develop. We will help you contacting academia to establish an academic link. So you will meet with different professors that have different expertise. You choose with whom you would like to work with. If you're really working with somebody that you trust, with a professor in academia, then you can work with them, of course. And then you submit an application to us. Then Mitacts will invoice your organization for 50% of the funding. This can be on the blocks structure, so by term, by year, by the entire project, your choice. And then we will send the full amount to the university. This last amount adds a lot of flexibility in what you can do, because what it means is that the interns does not need to be on your payroll. So they are paid from the university, and this allows you to, you don't have to think about any of the burden of hiring people. You work with the talent, you de-risk the investment in the talent, and also you have international students as additional talent pool. So your talent pool from which you can choose is bigger. The students are paid from the university as a stipend, like typically like from the each 15,000 internship unit, 10,000 is a typical stipend, but this is flexible as well. And in this way, you have also a part of the fund for expenses of the project. So usually consumables like computer time, reagents, whatever is needed. And the students spend time working in your project with your company. And of course, the talent and resources from the university. This is how it works. We have another like let's say, for example, this is usually the structure of our accelerator program of how it works. We also have a new, like an Elevate program. Our Elevate program is for projects that in which you require more expertise. So for example, a postdoctoral fellow, somebody that has a lot of not only research expertise, but in some cases even work experience. And these projects are more strategically, so 1 or 2 years. So you're looking for is not just an intern, you're looking for a postdoctoral fellow that can actually help develop your research pipeline and potentially become your new CDO. So why you apply to Mitacts? So what are the benefits of applying to our program? So our programs can help you first de-risking your investment in talent. So we are funding 50% to 55% of the internship. It means that you're de-risking your investment in taking a new person to work on your project. And if it doesn't work, that's not a problem. Projects are canceled. And we paid 50% of it, right? You can leverage your budget. So in this way, you can stretch the amount of investment that you need for research and development. It can be stretched. We're basically financing 50 to 55%. You access a broad talent of expertise. Because it's a non-competitive program, you can also trust in Mitacts and adapt this into your pipeline. So you can go Mitacts and strategically take interns from the different disciplines that you need. And finally, you have the whole network from the whole country that you can tap into. If you want to read more about Mitacts from someone who does not work in Mitacts and can give you a more of like it can give you another amount of why Mitacts is useful for the ecosystem, I will highly encourage you to click in this link. So this is an article that was published recently by Calibrate. So it's an EIR from the East Coast that has a beautiful summary of what Mitacts how Mitacts can help you crossing the valley of death, that it's called. So basically, at this very early stage, advancing your research and development in a point that you can scale up and you can grow and you can commercialize your technology effectively. And I will share the presentation later, of course, so Angie and the team can share it with all of you guys. So we fund research projects in general, but by this, in terms of what you can do with the program, it depends on how you structure the research project. And this can go from developing a new product, advancing your research and development capabilities, scaling up, validating your technology, exploring disruptive technologies, adapting your existing technology to new user cases and new markets, increasing their productivity and optimization of the productivity, there's no limit. So this can be adapted to any scale on what you're developing. It's only how you frame the proposal and what talent do you need. And we can assist on that. And to bring some more use cases examples, I want you to bring about 3 very practical examples of companies that have used Mitacts effectively, and in some cases that have even leveraged funding from other organizations to advance the technology at different scales. So the first user case example that I want to bring is a company from Vancouver Island, which actually is called Switch Research. This is a software company that works in mental health journals to help people accessing a journal to have science-based mental health resources. They came to Mitacts to develop their technology. So the technology they want to develop in terms of different aspects of mental health and different journals. We helped them establish a partnership with University of Victoria. They hired a postdoctoral fellow, Yoa, who worked in the project for 1 year. After the first year, the company decided that, you know what? The intern is so good that we're going to hire we're going to hire them for good. It's not an intern anymore. This guy is going to be our new director of research and development. So Yoa became the director of research and development and helped the company develop not 1, not 2, many different products in terms of the mental health journals that Switch Research wanted to develop. And now it's the new research and development. So when I'm telling you that we can help you getting interns, it's not an intern. It's your future director of research and development, is your future CTO, is your future scientist. It's somebody that you can actually hire at the end of the Mitacts program to become a core part of your team. So these are the advantage of what you can do with Mitacts, attracting talent and grow your team over time. Another example, which is something that I brought last year, but I think it's interesting to go as well, is Brown Bay Packing. So Brown Bay Packing is a company that already had customers. This is also a company from Vancouver Island. They have a very specific problem. So they built packing, like packages for seafood packing, so for the seafood industry. And the problem that they had is that there's regulatory barriers now that ban single-use plastics, styrofoam, and very contaminant pollution materials that are used for seafood. So they came to us with a problem on how we can fix that. So we contacted them. We helped them matching with a strategic alliance with University of Northern British Columbia, Dr. Hussein Kasemian, a chemistry expert. Dr. Kasemian helped them recruit a postdoctoral fellow. The postdoctoral fellow, which is an expert in the biomaterials, helped them develop this new biomaterial solution for packaging, which is completely sustainable and green. They developed the core of the technology with Mitacts. Then later they applied to Innovate BC for funding, and they got the funding. They won the very prestigious and Ignite Award. So they won up to $300,000 in funding to advance the technology more. The project was so successful that they created a spin-off, which is CWise, also competed a few years ago in the New Ventures competition, if you remember them. And now they're delivering not 1, but a multiple line of products based on the same technology. They were able also to attract more funding from Innovate BC for piloting the technology with a customer. So this is scaling up. And finally, they're still coming to Mitacts for more projects, more technology, more talent. So this is a way that you can optimize what you do. You can apply to not only Mitacts use for the funding that Mitacts can provide. So you can also use Mitacts in a way to take the steps that you need to attract other funding and scale up over time. The last example that I want to bring is a very exciting company, Deadwood Innovations. This is a company from Northern BC. I find this company very interesting because by being in Northern BC, it's very hard to find investment. There's not a lot of venture capital. In Mackenzie is a very small town that has less than 10,000 people. So how do you build innovation if you're in a very remote region? Well, you create a community. So Deadwood Innovations create a partnership with the McCasley Development Corporation, but they still needed help. So they came to Mitacts. Mitacts helped them attract a postdoctoral fellow that helped them. They already had the core of the technology developed. They need help scaling up. So with the Mitacts project, we helped them scaling up, develop the pilot with their partners of the McCasley Development. They were able to then apply to Innovate BC. They got more funding from Innovate BC to develop their pilot with their customer to validate their technology. And later they got $1 million from CICE to take the project even further. By the way, the program that they got from Innovate BC is also with IRAP. So NRC IRAP is also a great resource that they were able to scale up the technology. So it's another source of funding that plays very well with Mitacts with Innovate BC. And of course, there's more and more resources. So all of these are user case examples. And if you're wondering, hey, these are kind of rare cases of how Mitacts can take the innovation, well, actually, we have our statistics of the programs or of the applications that have applied to us. We've been very successful on helping technologies leveraging innovation. So 51% of our applicants actually reach commercialization. 17% adopt a new technology, 45% work in a new problem, 66% decide to still work with our academic partners after the Mitacts project. So it's not only about the talent, it's about the strategic relationships that we can help you build. And this is based on data. Last but not least, so we are not a for-profit company. We're not interested on equity or anything like that. We receive funding from the federal and provincial government. So our goal is to create more jobs, more helping you. Your success is our success. This is what we want. So thanks to our partners. And of course, if you now have questions, I will stop sharing so I can see the chat. And maybe I will add my contact information in the chat as well, but you will also be able to get that from Angie.
Awesome. Well, Lenny's been doing a great job answering all the questions in the chat, so that's great. Fast typer. There was one question earlier around, is there any 100% coverage for Mitacts? Which I assume is no, it's 50, but is there stacking? Is stacking a possibility?
I will let Lenny. Lenny, can you call about how they can? We cannot provide tax advice, but combining Mitacts with other grants, it's a great idea, such as Shred. And Lenny, I think you can talk about that.
So we don't have a restriction on you trying to obtain funding from other programs. So you're free to use the funds that you inject into Mitacts to, after you get the Mitacts grant, to try to find some other funds. An intern can hold more than one award. There is a restriction from many of the federal government programs that the stacking can't be more than 3/4 to 1/4, where you contribute 1/4. So if you go out to another program and try to use the same funds somehow, you're limited, if you want to call that limited. With respect to Shred credits, again, you should solicit your own advice on whether you're Shred eligible, the project is Shred eligible, but generally the amount that you are paying can be Shred eligible. So sometimes there are opportunities to get more than 50% funding. It really depends on the type of project and where you're looking for grants. Sorry to be so ambiguous.
Great. And then there are a couple questions around, and I know, Lenny, you answered a little bit of this, but around how IP ownership is dealt with throughout the program. Maybe you want to elaborate on that, please.
Yeah, so every post-secondary institution is free to have their own IP policy. Most of them, it's not an issue. You're doing a small project with the university, you'll have access to the IP that you create during the project. Where we run into problems is typically, if it's a very large project, if there's background IP coming from the institution, if there's a large research agreement, $100,000s of dollars being put into the project, or if you're using something specific, some specific facilities at the university that they own and have invested in. Those are the only situations we encounter where there's a problem. Otherwise, you have the rights to the IP.
Okay, cool. And then I guess around Claudia's question around the 50%, are there kind of set rates determined when you do the project description? So if, say, you recruit talent that might want more than what's agreed upon.
Yeah, so the first layer is that the grant we provide is, as Marcelo indicated, for a 4 to 6 month block. The award is $10,000 or $15,000, depending on which one you apply to. And for Elevate, it's $60,000 a year. That's a different beast. Sometimes in some fields that are very hot, you need to pay the intern more. I mean, there is a free market here, so we will provide a certain amount of funding. That's generally enough, but I have to say that there are some really hot fields, very in-demand specialties, where it would be reasonable to pay the intern more than the amount that goes through the Mitacts program. It's permitted by the Mitacts.
And something to complement Lenny's answer is that besides the programs that I mentioned in the presentation, we have partnership with other agencies to provide joint resources that can even you can leverage more money and getting more funding for specific projects in specific areas. We have, for example, a partnership with Health Research BC. So if you're a life science company, we have enhanced leverage right now. If you're an indigenous company, we have a specific initiative for that. We have a joint program with NSERC for a job application that can leverage significantly more money. So there's specific resources that might be available. So the best way that for you to know is come to us. Let's talk about your project with Lenny, with me, with any of our Mitacts advisors, and we can help you see what's available.
Great. And then there was a question earlier, and I see someone just asked again around how to find the talent. So does Mitacts, the mechanism Mitacts can support that? You want to talk about that?
So you can find an intern in any way you like. Sometimes you have an existing relationship, someone's at your organization, knows somebody else, or you know profs at the university. So you're free to find your own. You can search the website of the university where the professors talk about their research fields. You can also post your project requirements on the Mitacts site, or you can talk to myself or Marcelo, and we will make arrangements to help you find that intern. The other question was, how do Mitacts and SHRED work together? Kind of partially answer that. One important difference is we fund before the project. SHRED you apply for after the project, it's a tax credit. So again, we don't speak for SHRED. You have to go through your own process to find out what payments you've made towards the project are SHRED eligible. That will come later after the project.
Right. And then I guess we talked a bit about around stacking, but there's a question around other grants that combine well with Mitacts. So I know when the ISI program was offered, that often couldn't be used because the intern at Mitacts is an employee of the university. So I guess do you have any thoughts, comments on other programs that stack well or have been known to be used?
Well,
sorry, go ahead, Marcelo.
Yeah, in some cases, we have already partnerships with those programs. Again, Health Research BC is one of them. NSERC is another. SHRED, social science. There's some social sciences funding available. In terms of Innovate BC, the Ignite allows up to 50% of the matching contribution that can be government related. So that's a program that matches very well with Mitacts, but Innovate BC has funding that is more competitive. So you have to take into account that. And maybe Lenny, you can talk about other digital or maybe other funding.
Yeah, the digital supercluster is one that combines with Mitacts. I'm not going to say well because it's a bit of a clunky process, but you know, if you're eligible for a supercluster project or digital as they call themselves now, come and talk to us as well. We often are able to get you funding from both sources through a reasonably streamlined joint application process. The biggest one I encounter is probably NSERC. That tends to be on the larger projects. Mitacts is funding internships, basically labor. NSERC funds a combination of labor and capital. So if you have a project that requires those things and is fairly large, there are many programs that are joint with NSERC that we can get you into. The thing to remember is that Mitacts is a fast program and it's not a competition. You will get the funds if the project is reasonable. NSERC is a much more complex, longer application process, and it can be quite competitive. So you're talking months to find out whether or not you get the funding. But yes, it stacks very well.
Yeah, so as you saw in the examples that I've shared, many of the companies or the organizations that apply to Mitacts, so Mitacts allow them to take the step that they needed, and later they apply to CIC, Innovate BC, and other resources to actually take the project to a next level, right? So it plays very well. But the advantages of Mitacts, as Lenny said, is that it's something that you can actually apply to get your project to start fast. The review time is only 10 weeks, so you can actually get your project moving fairly fast, so you can get and develop what you need to then apply to other programs and have a more structured application with more of the technology developed.
One other approach that I wanted to discuss that may be helpful to this group is the fact that there's, in theory, no upper limit on the size of projects you can apply to. So I have projects that are millions of dollars worth of funding and many internships over several years. Startup companies and scale-up companies often find it useful to apply for a very large, complex Mitacts project, or even a series of those projects, get the commitment from Mitacts that will provide the funding. But you don't have to name the interns. The project doesn't start right away. And it's very nice to be able to say to other investors, look, I've got this money in the bank. I've leveraged it. I've doubled it, or maybe even more. I have a commitment from a government organization to match as soon as the project goes forward. And you can often raise other money when you do that. And we understand that the nature of research and development is that things change. You don't always get the result you expect. So projects can be canceled, but you've got that guarantee up front that if the project proceeds, you'll get the funding. And that's a very, very powerful tool to go and get other funding.
This seems, my takeaway here is Mitacs seems like a very full service government program. Fantastic.